Hey there, gamer!
I found you, baby.
Do you know those YouTube videos where they go for platinum trophies and half the content is just
So then I got the trophy for reloading my gun for the first time. After some grinding, I got the trophy for killing my first enemy.
boring? So, since I have some games where platinum is currently in progress, I thought why not combine the Can You Beat format and feeding my completionist addiction by focusing on the interesting trophies. And with that, I welcome you to the first episode of Can You Platinum. Today, we're playing
Vanquish.
one of Platinum Games' lesser known works. Its PSN Profiles Guide gives it a 9 out of 10 difficulty rating, so we're in for a fun ride. Let's hop right in with the first of two trophies. Living Legend requires you to beat the game without dying, regardless of difficulty. Playing on easy is cringe though, so we're doing it on the infamous God Hard mode.
Vanquish.
It's unusual for a game in the late 2000s to have the stereotypical Russian not be the bad guy, but here he is, eradicating LA with a giant space laser. What do you mean that's supposed to make him the bad guy? That might be the most outdated thing in the game. Anyway, we play as Metal Gear Rising reject Sam Gitchin, most famously known for lines such as
Get out of the way, out of the way, get out of the way.
You know he's cool because
He smokes.
we work for the captured Professor Candide, who built the giant space laser and wants us to stop its misuse, but I just want to know what the fuck else is the purpose of a giant space laser supposed to be. Then there's also Major Burns to support us, but I think it's high time we get to gaming. Vanquish is an action cover shooter with health regen. You can carry 3 weapons, as well as frag and EMP grenades. What really sets the game apart though, are its quick movement options such as rolling and boosting around, as well as your AR mode, which allows you to activate bullet time when aiming after rolling or when you go low on health. It's fast-paced fun. Now imagine my surprise when I went into the first proper mission and I got absolutely shredded by basic mobs. This continued into the next mission. Your health is pitiful, it takes forever to recharge, and your coolest bullet time has suffered the same fate. Oh, and when you run out of your AR meter, you are slower, fat roll, and can't perform actions that require AR until it's fully recharged.
But Mr. D,
You might say.
didn't you say you died in the previous mission? How come you can just continue playing?
Great question. The game only counts a death if you press continue in the death screen. Restarting the mission or going to the main menu and then pressing continue won't count. Now, I felt a bit quirky while doing this, so I decided it would be more entertaining to restart a mission upon death. Oh, whoa. For me, mission 1-3 was a real trial by fire. I wasn't prepared for the massive jump in difficulty between hard and God hard, and it got me good. More and tougher enemies that will target you over your allies and can defragment your frontal lobe in seconds means you have to play it safe. A good thing there are 2 giant murder robots chasing you down and going into rampage mode if you put so much as a dent in their paint job. It was rough and really made me reconsider my choice of weapons because the laser gun that carried me through hard mode uses AR meter as ammo, and that's just not viable here anymore. The sniper rifle is great for headshotting the tanky, 2-shotting golden robots. Assault rifle and heavy machine gun deal consistent damage at high and medium distance, respectively, and the armor-piercing pistol is a fantastic pocket sniper. The missing piece here was a shotgun, because it activates the robot's hidden stun lock routine. So, now that you've overcome your first big battle and the enemy spawning behind you, it's time for a boss fight. The first phase is easy. Destroy leg, shoot schnozzle. Next, enjoy the fantastic transition. Hell yeah! The second phase also isn't too hard, but the boss's signature armpit rockets gave me a hard time here. And I hope you remember what dying in this challenge entails. In the end, I found a spot where he cannot hit me and turned his death into my newest Instagram post. I kept count, that's 11 restarts for this mission, which certainly bodes well. In hindsight, I regard the next 2 missions and the plays I made as further demonstrations that someday AI will replace me, please my wife, and raise my children better than I ever could. Treat them well, the cuckold says. And remember, daddy never raised no gamer. Anyway, the rest of this act is straightforward, so let's briefly talk about the final boss. I say briefly here because you're gonna see a lot of him later. He flies around, has a wide range of ranged and melee attacks, and he has a gadget that causes you to overheat. More on him later. Nevertheless, this is the end of the first act, so let's see if the second one won't prove to be more of a real challenge. 2-1 includes a fun ride on some conveyor belts with moving cover, and culminates in you being thrown into a small arena with a bunch of giant robots. I died a few times, and you know what that means. There's also a guy in a turret here whose sole purpose is to troll the living hell out of you. Deliberate shotgun aggression is the key here if you want to catch a train to 2-2. Get rid of the scum invading your reserved first-class seats, arrive, then perish, and do it all again. You see a pattern here? Seriously though, the final part of this mission is pretty sketchy as you are bombarded by a bunch of enemy ships that, guess what, are vertical cover bigots. Just kill all enemies, clench your chiseled cheeks, and I'm sure it'll be fine. Mission 2-3 introduces spherical enemies who, believe it or not, due to how programming works, are actually triangles and not spheres. They also murdered me. Finally, there's a rematch against both phases of the Argus robot at once, but one of them is pretty much just background deco while you fight the other, so let's move on. Now there's been a change in the enemy's behavior that I've been neglecting so far. You may have seen instances of it here and there throughout the video, depending on what footage I choose to use, but it's never made explicit. However, during this mission, it's as impossible not to mention as it is to ignore while playing. The enemies here have gotten a very slight increase in the amount of grenades they hurl at you, with golden guys only throwing 3 at a time. Have you spotted the issue yet? But let's say you manage to get past this. What awaits you as you push up the hill? Enemies in unassailable positions, constant reinforcements, sometimes directly behind you, falling rubble that can and will kill you, swarms of enemies spawning in front of you the moment you hit certain triggers, and of course, grenades casually rolling down the hill. Cause you can't have enough of those. 17 deaths, many minutes spent waiting for the storm to subside. The final mission of Act 2 introduces the Bia. Highly durable, it switches between an oppressive ranged and an aggressive melee stance. And, for good measure, the Godheart throws in a second one. They are the toughest standard enemies, and their oppressiveness can quickly put you between a rock and a hard place. Usually, that hard place is a restart button. Thankfully, there is a rocket launcher hidden in the area, which immensely helps bursting one down quickly. The following act boss is just 3 waves of mobs to contend with. The death counts, however, are starting to grow, and would you look at that? New record. I got 186 men killed. Hell yeah, name the graveyard after me. The main obstacle in Act 3 is Mission 3-2. You are assaulted by hordes of golden robots, and if you manage to kill enough of them, a tank joins the party. There is another rocket launcher here to rescue you, but you need to time your shots well to get good value out of it.
There are 2 drill transports breaching the surface.
Well, this is gonna be interesting.
From there, headshots with the sniper rifle are your best bet to clear out the mobs. Survive the sketchy hitboxes, and from there, taking out the tank should be no trouble at all. The rest of this act is pretty tame. We gotta rush across a collapsing bridge, which is surprisingly easy, and a slow, stealth mission with 2 encounters afterwards, during both of which I died. And you know what that means.
Okay, slow down the monorail so I can take clean shots.
It's already moving as slow as it can.
Okay.
After that, there's some basic combat as we assault the enemy's giant vessel, and a fight against the unknown, a giant heap of scrap controlled by this little fella. Don't get into melee range, and it's an easy win. After that comes my greatest fear, blue robots. I think this is the first time I actually used the boost machine gun I've been carrying around since Act 1. It's a better version of the normal machine gun, and I only use it on special occasions, such as these guys. After that, I make my way to the top of the Creon, fighting the unknown a second time in the process, and unplug the thing only to be rewarded with badassery by the way of Call of Duty. Thank you, I've already had enough World at War flashbacks. The biggest struggle in Act 4 was 4-2. It's a series of moderately hard encounters where the main difficulty comes from beating all of them in a row. First, you'll get rushed down by blue robots, which can easily end in you getting overwhelmed. Soon after, a buzzard will join the fight. It's not a hard fight, but there's something I haven't told you yet. This game has a weapon upgrade system. It's disabled in Godhard though, which is why weapons are becoming less and less effective. After this is a flying turret section where only idiots die. Then, an Argus robot would chase you into an arena filled with enemies for another rematch. The main issues here are getting into the arena alive and getting rid of the mobs. This is one section where the lock-on laser really shines. By now, the Argus shouldn't give you too much trouble anymore, but beware of the cheeky attempt to burn you alive when you defeat it. And, after all of this, the spheres are back.
Tessellation. Triangulation. For unearthing our secrets.
You shall die.
Great. You know what that means. The second time I made it here, they somehow just blew up. Hooray! And the final fight is again against 2 Bias. So, I hope you brought a rocket launcher. This was a rough mission that felt more like a boss rush, but that should be the worst for this act. The next mission features one of my favorite segments where you're trapped in an arena with 3 drill robots constantly rushing at you and snipers all around. It's claustrophobic and frantic as you're being chased around trying to dodge everything they throw at you. 2 easy boss fights later and I told you to stay away from the unknown, didn't I? Well, we're getting to the final act and this is where the difficulty really ramps up. First up, in 5-1, is a fight against some big robots where you have all the time in the world to fulfill your fantasies about Sam getting his ass drilled. Are you done?
Cheap fucking toy!
Took a load to the face, huh? Well, spitters are quitters, and Mama didn't raise no quitter, so across the bridge we go, where another Bia awaits us in a tight corridor. You're the mouse, he's the cat. He'll pounce on you like single moms on Tinder. Thankfully, there's always a rocket launcher near these guys, so grab it and let your pro gamer skill and the anti-armor pistol do the rest. Finally, the rematch against the Crystal Viper.
Be careful, it's cloaking up!
He's highly aggressive, one-shots you with all of his swords attacks, he can go invisible, and only melee attacks are effective against him. Sure, you can parry him, but mess up and he will perish you. And you know what that means. 5-2 is the big confrontation with Burns, and my most hated mission. You have to chase him through several sections while soldiers are constantly spawning in to protect him. These guys are an absolute nuisance, and it takes forever to get to the actual boss arena. Now, if you were to just stroll into this arena, you'd be faced with Burns, who's now actually trying to kill you, and 4 additional soldiers. Luckily, if you only take a quick peek inside and roll out again, the soldiers will spawn early and you can take them out safely. Against Burns, however, there is no safety. He's ridiculously fat, I mean fast, and because Godhard is balanced, his little pew-pew machine gun shreds your health. I tried using a strategy where you stun him every time he moves up one of the central ramps, and for a time, it worked, but it's rather inconsistent, and once I ran out of ammo, he'd make short work of me. And you know what that means. I hate this mission. Long and boring, only to be one-shot randomly. So, I looked online for some help and found this excellent guide by Seraphine17, where you simply sit behind the first bit of cover in the room, wait for him to approach, dodge his melee attack, and then punish him. It's simple, and if you're not me and you're actually good at video games, you can take him out somewhat safely. Now, the finale is upon us. The double bogey. Okay, maybe we take a little detour. In the beginning I said there were 2 trophies I was going for. The other one I still need is called Tactical Challenger, and it's the sole reason why this game's trophy guide author gave it a 9 out of 10 difficulty rating. All we need to do for it is to beat all 5 waves of the game's final challenge. Apparently, that's a bit harder. Let's check it out. So the game's difficulty here is set to normal, which means you have a lot of health and AR, and both recharges quickly. This feels so overpowered after God Hard. The first wave is just a Crystal Viper with some basic mobs. Ignore the Viper, casually parry him when he comes close, and this should be fine. Next up is a single bogey, accompanied by 2 waves of flying drones. I got overwhelmed here a bit, but once I realized that EMP grenades will insta-kill the drones, I quickly developed a strategy to efficiently destroy them before dealing with the bogey. And this is what this challenge is all about. Find a reliable way to deal with the enemies for each wave, and then pull it off in a row. Wave 3 is probably easiest of all the waves, with it mostly consisting of giant robots. The issue here is that the drill robots can destroy cover, which may set you up for future failure. Good thing I randomly figured out that if you hide in this specific spot before they spawn, no one will aggro onto you, even if you shoot at them. Destroying the head, however, will cause them to become active and attack the last place they've been shot at from. It took me a while to figure this out because I thought they couldn't be damaged anywhere else from the front, but turns out they have another weak point. Oh yeah, this is the revenge for my anus. Wave 4 is again much more challenging as there are spheres, blue robots, 2 BIAs, and worst of all, flying turrets rushing you down. I used a forum discussion for some tips here and learned that the LFE gun destroys the spheres. From there, it's all out aggression to destroy the flying turrets. Finally, the remaining robots and BIAs should be manageable on normal difficulty. A final wave functions similarly, as you have to take out the spheres quickly because they're paired with the double bogies. The double bogies sure are challenging even on normal mode, but after almost having beaten the game on God Hard, they're not that crazy. Play it safe, focus one down, and when the other goes into phase 2, play it even safer, always keep cover between you and eventually he'll go down. That's 17 attempts, not what I'd imagine a 9 out of 10 would look like. But don't worry, we still have a fight to clear that lives up to this rating. The double bogies on God Hard. I've been holding up on talking about the bogey fights because of this single mission. 296 attempts. Almost 8 hours of trying to get past phase 1 of this fight. This is by far one of the hardest fights I ever beat. These 2 bastards are hyper aggressive, super deadly, and complement each other perfectly. The pace here is insane, and momentum can shift on a dime. The red one is the main source of my deaths. His sniper rifle puts you at 1 HP and he fires it all the time. He's always right there when you're low on health or AR or simply out of position. He also has a grenade cluster to get you out of position that sometimes turns into a nuke, and a giant fucking laser of fucking death that deals about half HP damage. He is a bit slower than the blue one, and with a sniper you can't take your eyes off him, so I always went for killing him first. This is where his partner comes in. His purpose is to frustrate you. He's very fast and designed to harass you, get you on low health, and take away your AR mode with his flying umbrellas. Worst of all is that similar to Burns, his little pew-pew laser gun deals absurd damage, and he ruins so many attempts with his casual drive-bys. Now, couple this with quiet voice lines announcing their moves, audio cues sometimes not coming through, the game only giving you the most basic weapons, a shifting arena that's actively working against you, half-second EMP stuns, and the usual sketchy hitboxes, especially during their melee attacks, and you know why this fight is so damn hard. It's unbalanced and much more unfair than, say, Spec Up the Line's highest difficulty, but it's also really fun. Some of my attempts took literal seconds. There is no way to play it safe here, aggression is your only chance. The laser is a great chance to deal some damage, and you might even get a stun. I have to say that I hate this game's shotgun, but it's the best you've got, and sometimes it's possible to get some decent combos going. It took me a whopping 200 attempts to get past the first phase of this fight. After that, the remaining one goes super speed and gains their combined movesets. It didn't go well. And you know what that means. Hours of grinding. Please, just tell me this is a dream. Wait, what's going on?
Was machst du so in deiner Freizeit?
Also ich bin Gamer.
Oh, fuck off!
Cool.
I went online again, and a video by the console killer showed me a different strategy that's even more aggressive. Whenever you get the chance, you do a boost melee attack on the bogey and use the rest of your AR meter to fire at him. This is extremely risky, as it always leaves you with no AR, but it got me some good results, so I kept doing it. Now, let me tell you something. I do these videos and challenges for fun and to entertain people like you. I work on them during my weekends and evenings, the time my girlfriend wishes I'd spend with her. I was lucky enough to be recovering from a severe case of Montezuma's revenge while recording the final missions, and so I had some extra time to grind. However, everyday life soon settled in again, and I had to make a decision. When, after 2 more hours, I got past the first phase once more, I didn't restart the mission upon dying in phase 2, but instead returned to the title screen and continued from the checkpoint. It's not cheating or anything as far as the trophy is concerned, but it vexes me to no end that I couldn't get this done. I beat the bogeys, clean up the final trophies, and I'm absolutely done with this game. And I would say all of this if I was a fucking pussy. So I manned up, put another 1.5 hours in the game, beat both phases in one go, and although I may not be god hard, know that I'll always be rock hard while you're watching this. There really is no better feeling than overcoming a hard challenge. Thanks for tuning in to the first episode of Can You Platinum? Stay shark.
You know, I'm not that different from Burns. We both sacrificed others to uphold our own ideals.
But Sam, you said